Hello everyone, again. This will be the second radio I worked on, and yeah, so there's the first one, which actually I'm doing these videos at the same time because I order parts for, might as well order parts for multiple radios at the same time instead of doing individual orders. That way you can, in case you run into a problem, you can just start working on another radio instead of having to wait. Anyways, I forget the year of this and model of this Emerson. I believe it's pre-war, actually. I think it's like 40 or 41 or something like that, if I recollect. Once I get inside, there should be a model number in there, and I can look it up again. But I think it's thereabouts. I'm pretty sure it's pre-war. One thing I noticed is, unfortunately, the cord's shot. It's got some. That's definitely not the original plug, but see, it's starting to crack. I haven't plugged it in. It probably could, but I'm not gonna. But yeah, that's definitely not the original plug either. Somebody made a back for it, so it's hollow sounding. So I'm assuming the loop antenna is attached to the chassis instead of the cardboard backing. But the case, other than being a little dirty, needs polishing. I think it's bakelite or whatever. It's got that kind of wood grain texture to it. I don't want to paint this one. This is going to stay. Luckily, the plastic for the dial, because this is just plastics, not glass. Luckily, that's good. I don't think there's any. I think there was a hairline crack, I think, in one of the corners, I want to say. If there is, I'll definitely have to glue it so it doesn't get worse or anything like that. But anyways, enough stalling. I'll open this thing up. Well, here's the inside. See, you got nice cobwebs. There is really a thick layer of dust on this thing. Despite this, I mean, this looks recent. Like somebody, you know, that definitely ain't as old as the last time this was played. That's for sure. I mean, that could have been 10 years ago, but this thing obviously hasn't been run in decades. Let's look under this once. Let's see. It looks to be an original cord, but not the original plug. All these wax capacitors look to probably be original. Not sure what that tape is there. Something's taped up. If that's factory or someone add that. The electrolytics, I think they're replacement. That looks like a... That doesn't look factory, I don't think. That solder job. But if it is a replacement, it's a very old replacement. You know, it wasn't like it was done in the 60s or anything like that, or even the 50s. That was definitely replaced still in the 40s yet. Maybe during the war or something like that, who knows. And, well, I'm going to do what I said I wouldn't do. And I plugged it in. I haven't turned it on yet. The cord, I think, is good enough to do that. And so we'll see what happens. And bang! No pilot light. So either it's burned out or it ain't working. I don't think I see filament either. Looks like we have a dead radio. Yeah, I know, I would see filament by now. And none of these are, it ain't doing nothing. Well, bummer. Alrighty then. She dead. So I guess time to check some tubes. Tested the 50L6 first, which is the output tube, and that actually tested good. And so now I'm on the 35Z5. This one's a GT, and it tests good. In fact, it tests very good. Although one thing, it says it's supposed to short on 2 and 3, which, you know, 3 it shorts, but 2, it ain't shorting like it's supposed to, which that's odd. I've never had a tube do that. So whether or not that's actually a problem, I will have to look up. At the very least, I'll have to ask somebody. So otherwise, it tests good otherwise, so on to the next tube regardless. Well, I already found the problem. She's deader than a doornail, this 12SQ7 GT. The last radio I restored, that Belmont, also had a dead 12 SQ7 GT in it. And them aren't cheap tubes. Might have to rob that tube out of that one just to test this one out. But yeah, there's no filament there, so, and of course, you know, pull the trigger, nothing happens. And it also shows a short, hard short on pin, I don't know why that's not necessarily pin 8, but test number 8 or whatever the hell that works is. I wonder how the gas test is. Hey, passes the gas test. So, but yep, that's at least one dead tube. Check the other 3. The next pair of tubes were both 7B7s, I believe. Both of them tested really good. The last one is a 12 SA7 GT. And I did both tests. There's 2 tests for this tube, and both of them, it's good enough. I mean, I'm not going to replace it. It's not that bad, so. But it's definitely, you know, starting to get on the weaker side. But so anyways, yeah, just that SQ7 GT I got to replace. And then, like I say, that 35, what was it, a Z5 or whatever the heck it was. I got to ask about that reason why it's not shortened on the one test that it's supposed to be shortened on. But so I may have to replace that tube too. But all right, so next up is resistors. Well, the next quick little update is well, first of all, this thing absolutely reeks. Talk about a smoker's paradise in here. Just absolutely stinks. But I was looking at the capacitors. There's only 7 in this thing. 3.05s, 1.03, and then, for sure, 2.002s. But this one here, I went to scrape the dirt away to read the number, and well, the number disappeared. So I can't find a schematic for this thing yet. I haven't been able to find one. Most radios you can. This one, certainly nothing online anyways. And so I went looking. I found another Emerson radio of the same year or so, or maybe 1 year newer. I think about the same, but same tube lineup. And so, but it had way more capacitors and resistors, like twice as much in the circuitry. It's like, huh. Well, whatever. Well, anyways, I looked at because this is the 50L6 tube, I looked at the tube on that schematic, and the one capacitor that goes across it, because it goes from one side of the tube to the other, was also 8.002. So, in this particular case, yeah, it's the same. So, anyways, so, on to the resistors. Well, I'm pretty sure I found all the resistors in the set. There's only 2 that got to replace. This one's just barely. This is a 10% one, and it's only 100 ohms over 10%. And I probably normally just say to heck with it, but not that. Well, I probably still could, but it's that little guy there buried. But you know, it's on a tube that has a trimmer on it, an oscillator coil, and a microcapacitor, so it's a pretty sensitive tube. So I might as well replace that little 10,000 ohm resistor there with one that's brand new. And then there's a pair of, what are they, 500,000? One there, that little green and yellow was a green, black, yellow, or whatever. And then there's another one right there. That one right there, definitely over, is at 715,000, whereas that one's at 564, which them are 20%ers, so that's within 20%. Actually, yeah, well within 20%, but that one definitely is over, so we'll replace that one. So just 2 on this one, plus the the capacitors and electrolytics, so it'll be a pretty easy parts order for this one. So on to the next part. Well, it's been a hot minute since I last, inspected this and ordered the parts. But I got them here. Actually, doesn't look like that much once you have them laid out. Got 2 tubes to replace the 2 shorted one and the open filamented one. Just 2 resistors and a handful of caps and 2 electrolytics. Chances are the pilot light's dead. Most of the time when these burn out or short out, chances are it takes the pilot light out. But I got one for that, and yeah. And then I'm not going to replace the cord till I got everything else done because it's good enough for testing purposes. So yeah, time to get cracking. Okay, I got this dirty, filthy cap. Like I say, this, if I didn't mention before, I doubt that wasn't the original, which is not surprising. Instead of soldering back there, I found a grounding spot there for that one and a grounding lug right there down in the middle for the other one. So I'm going to swap out the tubes real quick, the two bad ones, and give it a test fire and see what happens. Well, now is the moment of truth. No pilot light. We got filament.
You're on the left. What are they thinking? I know what they're thinking. Well, you know what? We gotta protect these kids because parents are just busy. So we gotta take it out.
Look at that.
Within restrictions that violate the First Amendment.
Look at that. That is really good. Like I figured, the pilot light would have been burned out, and it was. So I will. That actually sounded pretty darn good. I will get the rest of the little caps replaced and 2 resistors there, and give it another test run after that, and go from there. Alrighty, see you in a bit. There, I got all the caps and a couple resistors replaced. One resistor was way in that little corner there, but I got her. So, let's test out my handiwork. Plugged in. Replace the pilot light. I still haven't cleaned the controls yet.
The others got my heart, it's a long road ride.
Track record, their victory could mean sweeping changes to your way of life, the way you shop.
It actually sounds really good.
Your children, and even how you take.
This comes in pretty good. And sports on.
And the 5
Anyways,
you should take to prepare.
That's pretty good. So my next step is I'm going to clean up the chassis because it's filthy and smells like smoke. Lube the tuner, oil the shafts, and then it'll be time. Well, I got to replace the cord, and then it'll be time for audio input.
At Morgan's Jewelers, it's not just about the beautiful and unique jewelry.
That was sure a dusty chassis. It's still kind of dusty looking. Got as best I could though. Doesn't help the plating is kind of corroded on it, the cadmium plating, but it's a lot better than it was. And now it won't stink nearly as much once you start using this. Still got to do the case yet. But anyways, moving along, time for audio input. Got all the components here and some wiring. I think ultimately I'm going to put this one right here. I think I'm going to put it right there. I would like to put it right here, but I don't like putting these right in front of a tube socket. Just in case you ever had to work on it. Not that anyone ever would, especially that tube socket, highly unlikely. And it wouldn't be the end of the world to have to just pry this off anyways. You know, with the screwdriver, it would pop off pretty easy. But anyways, yeah. So I'm going to put it right over here. I'm pretty sure I will. I don't know. I'm not 100% committed in that, but by the time I get it glued down, I obviously will be 100% committed. So anyways, on to the next part. Time for some audio input. Okay. Besides the switch, don't have that in yet, but I got the isolation transformer in. I got the jack over there. And then I got the wires going to the volume pot. And this here is the wire that goes to the IF transformer. So that's disconnected. So, got it plugged in. So it should do nothing once it fires up, other than maybe a light, very light hum. I oiled and lubricated the shaft and cleaned the volume pot, so that should be good now. I got some music playing on my laptop. Alright. Tuned off station, and look at that. Yeah, that sounds really good. This is a good sounding set. Very little interference noise, and just a good sounding speaker. And yeah, it's a nice sounding set. So now that I established that this does work, yay, I can go ahead and install the switch, test it again. And then last thing will be to install a new power cord. So see you back when I have a switch in this sucker. Well, the switch is installed. I was actually able to stretch the IF wire, just barely reach the switch, so I didn't have to add an extra wire there. The other wire just connects it back to the volume pot. I believe I have it switched to radio. So I'll flip this on. I got the Bluetooth running, so when I switch the switch and connect it, it should still work. Turn it down, or up I should say, to stations. Whoa, settle down there, Turbo.
If I had the right to do it, I'd...
Right now, stations aren't coming as good as they would during the day.
Not saying what will happen after that.
But yeah. So if I switch it, it's kind of a bit much of station to come in through the... As long as you tune it off station, you should be fine. So yeah, like right now, a station's bleeding through, but as long as it's tuned off station, it's still fine. There's just a little bit of radio buzz coming through, but that's not terrible. yeah. Otherwise, that's working pretty good. All right. So having said that, next step is power cord and clean the case. There, got a new cord installed. It was a polarized plug, and there is a way to hook up. If you're using a polarized plug, there is a way to hook it up, and I forget how to tell the difference offhand. Just look it up online. But anyways, I just turned it into a non-polarized plug by filing the fat end till it was just the same as the other side. So now it could work either way. So that's all taken care of now. It's just down to the case. Another thing, side note, I burned out a bulb because I was plugging it in and out, and when it's fired up, it doesn't like that. A lot of radios, I think, are like that. It'll burn out if you do it too many times, it'll burn out the pilot light. So make sure you always should be turning it on and off with the cord. You can unplug it, but just turn it off first before you plug back in. Otherwise, you'll be swapping out dial lights every once in a while. So yeah, on to the case. This is the fun part about buffing some of these radio cases, is getting in between the cracks. Having to use, look how gross that is. Having to use a Q-tip and whatnot, and got all the big surfaces. I ain't gonna totally reveal it yet, but got all the major surfaces. But now it's down to getting into these grooves here and here and in here. And then after that, I could quick do the dial face or the lens or whatever, and I should say, and then yeah. But yeah, just quick update. Turned out pretty good, but now I'm to the really tedious stuff. So you wish it would be quick, but unfortunately, it takes an hour or two to get an average case done. So, but see when it's all the way done. Wow, do I got something crazy for you guys. I got the case all polished up and clean and whatnot, and was supposed to put it back together, and that was supposed to be the next video clip. But this is crazy. So obviously, as you know, last clip was showing you, you know, the Bluetooth and whatnot working, replace the cord and whatnot. So obviously the Bluetooth I used 1812 Overture Orchestra piece, because, you know, public domain and whatnot. And that played fine on Bluetooth. And well, anyways, afterwards, after I got done, you know, filming that, and I usually like to run the radio for 15, 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. I play a lot of, you know, decently songs that will push the radio. You know, I'll play Bohemian Rhapsody, Sail AWOL Nation, some My Chemical Romance, stuff like that, that will, you know, push the radio to make sure everything's working fine. Well, anyways, I started listening to some songs, and I noticed at some points that the audio sounded funny, like some of the background vocals or even the front vocals would be muted sounding, or maybe sometimes some of the instruments would be muted. At first, I thought it was just me, or maybe my laptop, or whatever. But after it happened a few times, like, something's not right here. Something's got to be happening to the radio. You know, and it's like, it's got to be something to do with the cable, which is stereo, because all your audio cables for the last 50 years now have been stereo, but with the exception of some very late console radios, virtually all your tube radios are mono. And so, like, with these cables here, you got to, like I mentioned before, you got to tie both channels together via some resistors, and tie them together in order to create mono from the stereo cable. And I was like, well, maybe there's a break in the wire. Maybe it's like either the only possible problem could be is either one of the resistors could be bad, or like there's a fault with the cord. And I figured maybe there's a break in the wire somewhere. Maybe it's not, maybe there's a bad solder joint You know, this is just a cheap Chinese cable. And, well, anyways, you know, I've never messed with these cables before as far as testing them before, because, I mean, why would you ever have to? And it's like, okay, so on these, I figured in order to test this, you got to ohm it out. You know, because you got 3 wires, you know, right and left channel plus a ground. Your yellow and red are your right and left, and your white is ground. And on these cords, these plugs, you got 3 sections. And anyways, so I took the ohm meter and process elimination, found out that there were no breaks. All 3 wires had, you know, they all ohmed out, and the ohms were roughly exactly the same. I was like, well, one thing that threw me through a loop is when I tested it, this for this cable here, it was yellow, ground, red. And I was like, you'd think the ground would either be this or this. And I was like, well, let me look at another cable. I have another radio that I did that I had the case off. Granted, it's a different brand of cable, but it's like they're all going to be the same as far as how they're wired, because they have to be, of course. And so I ohmed that cable out, and lo and behold, this was white, yellow, focus, white, ground, yellow, red. And I was like, oh my God, this cable here was wired wrong from the factory. Meaning, even if you were to use this cable, before I cut the female end off of it, if you were to use this extension cable on your equipment or whatever you're using, it would not work, or it would garble. It'd be a garbage signal. So to test out my theory, well, it's not really a theory. I mean, it's common sense. I disconnected the ground wire from the other side of the secondary, put it on this resistor, and I took the yellow wire, which is supposed to be one of the channels, and put it on the other secondary, and then started playing the same music, and what do you know? It plays perfectly fine. Isn't that just crazy? You know, I mean, it's just a cheap Chinese cable, but, like, that's crazy that it ended up being the cable that was the problem. So I guess I got, 8 more of them cables left. I'll have to, when I strip the coating off of them, I'll have to just quick ohm them out, just to double check that they're all fine. Because that one there's got the same cable from the same batch of cables, and that one was fine. That one, you know, the white wire is ground like it's supposed to be, or you would expect it to be. But not in this one. So yeah, now it's working good. Like I say, I got the case all done. So I'm going to quick throw this back together and be back soon.
Already quit. Hi, this is Zola from PlanZ.
Here we go.
So why'd they quit? The cravings are a big reason. They can't stand it. With PlanZ,
Cleaned up pretty nice.
VR50 Crave Control Spray on your side.
Got your Bakelite case with the kind of like a wood grain texture pattern to it.
If you're stuck making your meal and then a different
Took me quite a while to actually clean this case, and then not to mention there was a crack there in the corner, so I glued that. But yeah, she's pretty good. And then of course I got the Bluetooth here, so if I
to lose weight quickly, our dieters lose an average of 31 pounds.
Flip the
in
switch.
just 50 days. Most diets are too slow to keep you motivated. Not PlanZ. If you quit one of those other diets, it's tough.
You got a tune-off station though too, and then connect. And it'll go.
The end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear.
But yeah, she turned out pretty
I'll
good.
state my case,
I put out a
of
little
which I'm certain.
cutout for the switch.
Lived a life that's full. I've traveled,
But it sounds pretty nice, especially now that I got the Bluetooth issue figured out, or that goofy, faulty chord issue figured out. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. This one actually was much easier than that one there, which the clock is still going strong on that sucker. It's keeping time. So anyways, yeah, early 40s Emerson, like about 1941, turned out really nice. And hopefully eventually this will go to a really good home. So anyways, having that, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Well, might be, but anyways, that be it. So see you on the next one.